What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wrestletalk. We're going to work on a name for this one. This is an extra, just for you, for the fans of the Alliance blog who are checking us out. We're going to be talking to a good friend of the show, Andrew Pesina. He is the owner, the proprietor, the promoter, the booker, the jack of all trades for Epic Pro Wrestling. And we're going to bring Andrew on right now. As soon as I can figure this out. Hold on just a second.
Hello. I'm putting this out right now to everybody. So if you see me on the phone, I'm not distracted. I'm not technically I am distracted a little bit. I'm gonna stop talking.
So a lot of people don't know this about you and I, but not only did we kind of discover the SoCal independent wrestling scene about the same time, but I think I first saw you going to wrestling shows back at AWS, back in the city of Industry at the Frankensons. And first of all, I used to love that venue because it was kind of cool. You could check out all the geek stuff and all the sci-fi stuff, and then you can go watch wrestling.
Have you been to the new location?
I haven't, and I want to go, and it's not that far from me. I just never. Really? Every time I'm in the area, I'm always passing through.
I'd really love to run a show there. That would be cool.
Do you remember when they used to have the Magic the Gathering tournaments right there?
Yes, right behind the blue tarp that would separate the wrestling area from the card playing area and shit. Oh man, I remember sometimes kids would be kids from the fucking Magic the Gathering or whatever games they were playing.
Yeah.
Those tables, they would be peeking through the tarps, and then fucking Bart would come in and just smack them and shit, being like, "You got to fucking pay to watch this shit, fuckers."
I think the statute of limitations has run its course, so I think we're free to talk about stuff like that. But
when he slapped the shit out of Billy Budges for stealing tapes from his shop.
I mean, was that not warranted though? I mean,
I mean, it was hilarious. It was hilarious to me.
Did he ever get those tapes back, or was that
Oh yeah, he got him right at the show. I think he just slapped the shit out of Billy. I remember I was there. That was the third PWG show ever, and I was 15 at the time. Freshman going into sophomore year of high school that summer, and I knew about Billy Budges, who was the fan in question. And for people who don't know, he was imagine a teenage or late 20s Hamilton from The Sandlot. And he's just kind of he was a degenerate. I don't know if he still is, man, but he was known for ripping people off on tape trading sites, and people would always bash him and shit. And he was the original Bobby Hill in SoCal wrestling.
That's true.
One day he went to the AWS shop at the original city of Frankensons collectibles show, and he stole some tapes from Bart's shop. And for people who don't know, I know Bart mostly sells action figures now, but back in the day his shop was a mix of things, and there was a lot of tapes and DVDs because back then physical media was the only way you could watch a lot of his shit.
There was no YouTube.
Get
that. There was no digital source to see wrestling.
There was Kazaa, but not a lot of people had DSL connections back then. A lot of people had, still had 56K and dial up and shit. And, eventually I'm veering off course from the story. Bart found out that Billy stole tapes from his shop during a PWG show. And it was the second to last match. It was Hardcore Kid and Alcatraz versus Hook Bomberry Apollo Khan.
Wow.
And during the match, there was a hope spot, I think, or a hot tag spot that was about to go down. And then Bart just grabs Billy by the back of the head and by the pants and just starts pulling pushing him, and he's front row, and there's guardrails, and Billy's just stumbling, and then Bart, and it's on video too, it ended up on a PWG DVD. Bart slaps the shit out of Billy, dude, and everyone's looking over going what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden Billy's just fucking getting tossed out, and there was this famous photo of Bart legit fucking shit canning Billy out of the fucking area where the wrestling was. And there was this fan known as SoCal Strong Style, Stan, just standing there looking like, what the fuck is going on? So that was a fucking great time, dude. Like, like, fuck, dude, that was the most hilarious shit I've seen at a show, and I don't know if I don't think it's been topped personally. Like, I've seen a lot of chair breaks and all that,
Sure.
but
Look,
yeah,
I look. If a chair breaks, like I don't want to. I don't want to laugh at that because sometimes sometimes chairs go through things. It's not like not
yeah,
everyone
those
is
poor
considered
chairs.
as the bad guy. And I'm not saying that as someone who hasn't broken a chair or two in my time, but but we brought that up to show that I've known you and you've known me for quite some time. But really, I think we connected when Adair and I started, basically took over SoCal Uncensored for a while. We reached out to Steve back in 2012.
No, it was 2010.
Was 2010? Okay,
Yeah,
and
late 2010, I believe, because
that makes sense.
it was like toward my way out during my first sabbatical or hiatus.
Well, in the site had pretty much stopped being promoted regularly, and Adair was like, "No, there's this. We can't let this go." And Adair is very altruistic. He was like, "This is history. This is so much memory, so much connection to the SoCal wrestling scene that we have to keep it going." So at that time, I was very into I was already doing my thing with the Alliance blog, but Adair talked me into joining him up with SCU,
Yeah,
and eventually you came on board, and you're back on board, I guess is the phrase. And SoCal Uncensored really connected not just you and I, but I think the website itself had helped connect that entire community, the whole West Coast wrestling scene. It was such an important website that when the faction was formed in ROH, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, they knew that the name SoCal Uncensored would register and would be a thing. They actually
I never
got
got a fucking dime from their merch sales, even though that gimmick was obviously based on me.
was it.
Never got a fucking dime. I mean,
They asked permission from Steve to use it,
yeah, but
but
still, I
I,
never
I
got a
would
dime.
I would have been like, yeah, man,
I would have told Steve, let me take like at least 10% of whatever the fuck they make.
get
I'd
get
probably,
royalties.
I'd probably be able to live in a fucking, I don't know, nice place in like Pacoima or some
But
shit.
you don't want to live in Pacoima.
What's wrong with Pacoima? I think Pacoima is a very wonderful place, and I think it's also a good possible spot for future wrestling shows. I'm just saying.
Well, there you go. There you go.
No,
Pacoima.
but yeah, SoCal Uncensored really, I really think it's the most important and most vital resource and like tool in SoCal wrestling history. I know there's people who have their fucking their like criticisms of it, but then when
Sure.
you look at who they are, they're mostly just total pieces of shit and all that. But for real, it's like, here's the thing about SoCal Uncensored. Everyone thinks it's just like Steve or when you and I were associated with the website, like us, but really it was for the whole scene. And people were always welcome to spread their voices and opinions on it. But at the same time, it's like, I think like people just didn't understand that because like 25 years ago tomorrow, the 25th anniversary, like the reason why it started was because there was another website, socal-wrestling.com, and they fucking literally like censored people from talking about various fucking websites, and there was nowhere for people to talk about wrestling. And then MPW had their first show 25 years ago this past, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, May 10th or March 10th was the anniversary of their first show.
Yeah.
And that show ended up getting a lot of praise from people. And one problem that arose from that was UPW, who were basically like one of the most respected promotions and one of the most well-known promotions out here. They fucking ended up establishing a rule that said wrestlers can't work for certain promotions anymore.
That's so
And
crazy, by the way.
MPW was one of those promotions that weren't approved. right? And
Yeah.
when you look back on it, like maybe you can understand Rick Bassman's point of view because it was like it was done because he didn't want to see a guy like Frankie Kazarian risking getting hurt before a dark match. Samoa Joe was doing a hardcore match with Cincinnati Red that was pretty brutal for its time, and like he was going to become the champion a few days later of UPW, right?
Yeah.
He was going to be Christopher Daniels for the belt. And he also, I think Joe also had dark matches lined up. So it's like, okay, you can understand Rick Bassman's point of view, right? But
Right.
at the same time, was he really paying for their living expenses? Was he paying like them for like missed opportunities and missed bookings in SoCal? I don't know, man. But if he
No.
wasn't, then that was a shitty move. But at the same time, it was like this was a move that affected MPW. And when people found out, sorry to cut you off, but
You're good.
there was back in the day when there was the message board on SoCal Wrestling before social media existed. Kids, there were these things called message boards. It was like pre-social media for us older folks. Um, like there was a thread that had 100 posts, and then it got wiped out, and it ended up being found out that Samoa Joe did it by accident, but mostly because he didn't know what he was doing, and he was just trying to delete shit that was about him privately. But people saw this as like a big sign of mistrust, and that eventually caused Steve Bryant and the other co-founder that no one really talks about, Lonnie Hill, to found SoCal Uncensored. I wasn't meaning that as a joke. People like literally don't talk about Lonnie, even
Because
though
Lonnie self-exiled, man. He
yeah.
disappeared, and Steve was the face for a long time, and you know,
I mean, Lonnie was a goofy fuck and all that, but
yeah,
he deserves credit for helping launch that website.
absolutely. He
Yeah,
100% him and Steve did that together, and I don't think you could take that away. Didn't Lonnie go try to become a wrestler?
I think so. Rev Pro.
Yeah.
I heard a funny story that I won't repeat on air, but yeah,
You know who I saw this past Sunday was Ron Rivera.
at the
I think it
Marquez
was,
show.
yeah, at the Sunday Night Slam. I saw Ron Rivera. Of course, Zokre was there. Jason Allgood was there because his son Jake, or not Jason Allgood, excuse me, Jason Redondo was there.
Jason Allgood. So
Uh,
you finally had that kid with Britney Spears?
yeah, no, Jason Redondo. Excuse me, I
Yeah,
misspoke. And then it was funny because there was a picture someone took with Ron Redondo
Chaos and
and
not
Chaos, and it's like, wow, that
yeah.
was like 90 years of Southern California wrestling experience right there. It was kind of cool to see those guys, and then like Zokre, you've used Zokre on your shows too, but it was kind of cool to see him, get a spot on TV, especially the fact that Dave helped him get the NWA tag titles back in the day, him and Phoenix Star. So it was kind of cool to see him come back too. It was kind of a lot of SoCal history there.
Yeah, I remember last year when I had Scorpio Sky on my March show and Zokre, a lot of the old Rev Pro heads came out. Mr. Excitement was there, and getting to talk to all those guys, and then having Top Gun Tower being a regular at my shows, and
Yeah,
all those guys like giving me their blessing and telling me like, "Hey, you're doing a great job with this shit." That means so much because like we said, like SoCal Uncensored 25 years ago tomorrow, right? And I literally, like you and I talked about this before we came on here. I grew up on SoCal Uncensored, literally, because
yeah,
I started following it when I was 13. I started posting when I was 15. Started writing for it when I was 18 and shit, and I ended up becoming a promoter. So it's like it's crazy, like discovering this website in my middle school fucking library, like 2 months after it launched, and because I remember like I was in this fucking class called Avid, and here's some more SoCal wrestling lore for you guys. In that class, I met this kid named Mike, and we bonded over wrestling. And fast forward about 22 years later, he is co-founding Circle Six,
oh, weird.
and yeah, like so it's like I met him in Avid class, which was a class designed for kids who were bound for college or whatever and shit. Obviously, that didn't work out for either of us.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that would,
No, it's fucking true because it's like I look back on it, it's like you got potential to go to college. I'm like, wow. And then by freshman year, I was like, I already want to quit this fucking academic shit. You know, it's high school. I'm burnt out. I'm tired. But anyway, I was in Avid class and I hated it. I didn't want to be in it. I ended up getting kicked out somehow. I forgot, but I did something rebellious probably. And I ended up like working in the fucking library as my it was an elective class which I didn't actually elect to take, you know, figure that shit out. But I ended up working in the library for like the rest of the year, and I ended up like just going on like wrestling sites all the time. And you know, I was watching CZW clips, XPW clips, and through like one of the XPW fan boards, I think it was like xpwlive.com, and I found out about SoCal Uncensored. So yeah.
That's interesting. Like I found SoCal Uncensored because of Scrub, right? Scrub was I like my introduction to independent wrestling, you know, as an adult, because I had one indie show go to my high school 2 years in a row. But then as an adult, you know, you know about WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW. We know those, but I didn't know that there was another like side of the independent wrestling scene. And so I saw like a flyer for a show that the Hardy Boys were going to be at. I was like, oh, that's dope. The Hardy Boys are going to wrestle outside of the WWF. That's cool. And it turned out it was going to be at the UPW show in Orange, California.
Santa Ana.
Yeah, Santa Ana at the observatory. I was like, oh, that's not far. We should go. So me and some buddies went because we were all WWE fans. We're like, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is so much cooler than anything else I've ever seen before. And it's very intimate. The wrestling ring right in this small little concert venue. This is dope. And then Scrub was there. And I started going on UPW message board, and he was there. And then he was like, oh, you should check out this and check out Rev Pro. And they were like literally even closer to me than like in Norwalk. I was like, that I lived in Lakewood. That was like literally 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then I started going to SoCal Uncensored, and you know, that was my journey to that website. And you know, I used to think like, man, this UPW promotion is so cool, but then you start seeing everything else, and you're like, there is so much variety out here. And you know, I went to so many shows after discovering SoCal Uncensored. It became such a useful tool to know what was going on, where it was happening, how to find it, who the wrestlers were, and then hearing other people's opinion about the wrestling that you were watching too. And you kind of had this community where you could discuss like, hey, this was cool. Hey, this sucked. Hey, this wrestling show is totally worth your money. This one, hey, maybe you should skip it. You know, and I really feel like it was a useful tool for wrestling fans to just say, hey, you know, place to go, places not to go, what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
And really learn about the scene too. Cause like at the time too, Steve and even Lonnie were doing a lot of interviews back then. And there was so much content that, you know, before we were using the term content to describe wrestling articles, like there was content. You can get caught up on what was happening in the scene. You knew who the players were without ever even going to a show.
Yeah.
I thought that was very useful.
And the message board itself, like it created a community where people got to know each other and it formed a lot of long-term, lifelong friendships and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like it really did propel the SoCal scene to another level, because it was a place where people could go, and like that was like, think about this, that was where PWG was advertising their shows when they were first starting out, right?
Yeah.
And like that's basically a place that helped build, you know, all sorts of shit. Like people don't know it, but like just promoters posting on the message board helped gain a lot of traction. Wrestlers posting something on the message board, good and bad, you know, gained a lot of shit. Like, you know, the infamous Mike Vega shit. Lucky O'Shea.
Oh no.
I tricked into okay, I'm gonna tell this story. I'm gonna try and be quick, but there was this woman who wrestled under the name Lucky O'Shea out here, right? And she was young at the time, and she kind of had an attitude and all this shit. And I remember one show, like she was going off on Lufisto, calling her Thunder Thighs and fat shaming her and shit. It was like, Jesus Christ. And people like were kind of annoyed by her. And then she ended up being a wrestler, and there was some controversy. I think it's because like during the Rookie of the Year voting, like votes got taken away from her because there was ballots from the same IP address and from the same fucking devices and shit. And then when they fucking went off about it, like, and they got banned from the message boards, like, I ended up making a name being my pretending to be my mom. And when Lucky O'Shea said something to me, I went under as my mom. I said, "Chinga tu madre puta," and then they responded to that thinking it was fucking real. And it was like, oh, like, and everyone just ended up like beyond that, they ended up like trashing her and all that. So that was like one example of how a message board post can like make or break a career. And like I feel like that broke hers in a way, but like she also wasn't very good in the ring. So
Well, and I think filming adult content kind of hurts too.
I don't think that would have hurt. I think that probably would have helped her a lot. Maybe not get to WWE, but
There was a there was so much stuff that happened on that board too. Like, it's funny enough because now you are Epic, but there was an Epic before
the
you,
original Epic.
a Gary Yap's Epic with Marcus Riot, SoCal Tom Walters.
No, that was Pro Wrestling War.
Okay, fair enough, but
Yeah.
it's still
So
Gary Yap.
so that story is just as hilarious. Like, because like a lot of it happened on an AOL chat room, right?
Okay,
Like, it started out on the board with Tom talking shit,
yeah.
as usual. But was it really talking shit, or was he just being like straightforward and blunt?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like,
Yeah,
because look, I never even met Tom Walters, right? I
yeah.
never met Tom, but like reading what he wrote on the board, I don't think he was ever like intentionally being a dick, but he was also intentionally like trying to rub people the wrong way.
There were times he had his targets, I will
Sure.
say, and I would say for excuse me, very righteous reasons. Excuse me, I'm talking like Tito Ortiz now. Fuck. Yeah. So Tom was saying shit on the message board about Gary Yap, and then there was an AOL chat room on Instant Messenger. I'm really dating myself, kids. If you don't know what that is, it's like Messenger or DMs, but on its own app or program. And sometimes you make chat rooms, which were like group chats back in our day. So anyway, we're in a chat room, and it's a lot of the like top players in SoCal, including myself for some fucking reason. I don't know. Super Dragon was in it. Joey Ryan was in it. A bunch of wrestlers were in it. Tom was in it, and then they brought in Gary Yap, and then there was an exchange between Tom and Gary, and they legit were like Gary wanted to fight Tom. He said, "Come to my show. Come to my show. I'll fucking let you win. I'll let you in. You can fucking fight me. Blah blah blah." And Tom's like, "Fuck that. You're gonna fucking have me jump. Fuck you. Blah blah blah." So during the show, the next show, which was like January 2005,
And I was at that show, by the way.
the one where Jack Evans almost broke his neck. I got a clear view of that.
I was there, and I was like, I legit thought Jack Evans died in that ring that
So
night.
we're jumping the story. So they're doing this fucking angle. Gary up in his fucking stable, and then this guy Jarrell Diaz, who was wrestling as Marcus Riot at the time, came out. He's like, "I'm standing up for the fans, blah blah blah." And he was a lame ass end, just like he is now. But he was like doing an angle where he was standing up for the fans, quote unquote. And he was trying to say he's a wrestler named Marcus Riot. But the fans were all like, "That's Tom Walters."
No, I think Gary called him Tom because
No.
I didn't know who he was, right? I had no idea who Marcus Riot was at the time.
I remember Sean, XPW TV Sean, back in the day.
You got to specify.
Yeah,
Sean's.
he yelled, "That's Tom Walters right there, Tom Walters." And if Gary did like say Tom, I guess he ran with it.
Sure.
But yeah, he ended up getting squashed, like just taking a choke slam, and people ended up calling him fake Tom Walters after that.
I literally legitimately called him Tom Walters the next time I saw him, and in my head that was Tom Walters until I was finally introduced to him, and I was like, okay.
Would have been a better name if he went with Tom Walters instead of Marcus Riot.
Well, his trainer probably helped him come up with that. Look, and look for the record, I like Jake Diaz. I know you don't like him,
He's a
and you have
bitch.
your reasons for it. He's always been good to me, and I don't see the negative that you see, but that's neither
Because you
here nor
haven't
there.
dealt with him business wise.
That's fair. I
Like
don't
you
think
don't know the stories that I know, so
I'm saying that he's always been good to me. I
yeah.
can't say anything more than
Hey,
that.
not gonna debate that. You
All
know,
right.
I'm not gonna sit here and be like try and discredit people's experiences with other people. You
And,
know, it's like, hey, it's valid. You know, but it's also like sometimes you just don't know these people. Like, and that's one hard lesson I've learned in wrestling. Like, sometimes you think you know somebody, but then you don't. And
that's 100%. And then
yeah, well,
and
it's also a life thing too.
people I thought I was friends with in the wrestling business, I found out right away that I'm not friends with them. Like I was
Yeah,
just a vessel, a vehicle, something to help them get over. And as soon as I was no longer useful, bye bye. And that's
yeah.
okay. I mean, I get it. That's life. But
See, that's why I'm glad I've always been useless. You know, no one ever depends on me. I can tell who's genuine. So,
sure, I've been
and
used.
then the ones who aren't, I just troll very subtly and just to the point that they don't know they're being trolled. Like they seem like I'm genuinely on the same wavelength as them, but really I'm just like in the back of my mind making fun of them as they talk. But I have a different mind, a beautiful one, some might say.
Are you drawing math equations up on the chalkboard?
I wish I was good at math, dude. That way I wouldn't have to fucking pay someone to do my taxes.
You probably still need them to pay your do your taxes because there's all the codes and shit. You need to know that.
I mean, I'd probably figure it out if I had a beautiful mind.
That's fair. That's fair. So SoCal Uncensored, 25 years
Yes.
this next you said Thursday, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Thursday, yeah. Oh no, that tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow's
And
Friday.
I remember very vividly because I think we celebrated the 10-year anniversary, or maybe it was 15, and it was the letter that they wrote that Lonnie and Steve wrote together, and it was mentioning WrestleMania and how WrestleMania has brought people together
Hmm.
and created community, and that their hopes for SoCal Uncensored was to be that uncensored place, that uncensored hub for the exchange of ideas and thoughts on pro wrestling. And I for all the pros and cons, I really do feel like SoCal Uncensored did impact the wrestling community here on the West Coast. And I say West Coast more than just California, more than just Southern
Yeah.
California, because I feel like talents who Southern California became a destination because of the website SoCal Uncensored. I think that it enhanced that image, and then when Rev Pro kicked off, and then Epic started, and then PWG, it just always felt like you know we did our best on the website to promote what we loved, and I feel like that was infectious throughout the wrestling community.
Yeah. I'd say the only major real con was the Mike Draven era, but that's just my opinion. Like I know he did a lot when no one wanted to, but it's also like I feel like he's one of those guys who sort of took advantage of his position of on SCU by trying to get himself bookings on shows as a ring announcer and like selling shows. Like because I've like people have gone back and like sent me screenshots because something we do in our group chats, and like they were talking about like, oh man, Draven would always like try and like pitch himself or like market himself as like a draw for shows like come see this show and come meet SoCal Uncensored's Mike Draven. It's like when the fuck did any of us become important enough to be known as SoCal Uncensored's like J Cal or Andrew or Scrub or Justin Crast or
Scrub earned that. Nobody else.
Scrub earned it? Well, Justin Crast, who was like one of my favorite reviewers
A
in the
hundred percent.
beginning,
I
like he
agree.
was great too. But it's
I
also like I just found that goofy. And you know, he didn't like Mike Draven didn't really put up good content. He just posted whatever, and it's like I felt like those years kind of hurt SEU. But then like also it didn't help that like social media came around. And now people have their own platforms to voice their opinions and all that and reach their audiences. I think that also like I mean that also is like sort of a root of like what SoCal Uncensored was part of in the beginning, but I feel like more like availability for people to just have their own articles and stuff, I think it really changed things in the long run. But
Well,
you
as
know, in the end, like no one can ever say SoCal Uncensored didn't lift the SoCal scene, and it still doesn't have, its legacy, and that it can't really do it anymore. Like, because it can, I believe, like, you know, because Steve is busy with his life, and
yeah,
guys like you, me, Greg, Julio, who are writing, and over the last few years, we've moved on with our lives and all that stuff. But it's also like, if another generation came around and took the reins, I think it would be just as powerful, if not more powerful than before. But I
yeah,
feel like we also need like more younger voices, because that's another thing about SoCal Uncensored. Like a lot of the writers, like Scrub and Justin, they were younger at the time. They were in
yeah.
their 20s. And when I came around, I was in my teens and early 20s. And when I came back, my mid 20s and all that. And SoCal Uncensored had the youth voice and all that, which I think is very important. I think we do need that now in SoCal wrestling badly.
And I think part of the I think the biggest problem is, like you said, the social media influence. You know,
Mm,
when we were writing, when you were writing, when I was writing, there wasn't a big social media presence. Like there might have been MySpace, but that was even still kind of in its infancy.
yeah.
And as you know, when I was the editor in chief for SoCal Uncensored, my job was to try to find people who wanted to write articles, do
Mm,
interviews, and there were a lot of content creators in this landscape that were just like, nah, I don't really want to write. I just want to do videos. I
yeah.
just want to interview people and do videos. I'm like, okay, but there's a lot of like, I think about it right now. There's a lot of content creators in Southern California. Coffin Radio is one of the guys. Deshaun 2 Cents is one of those guys. Like, they back in the day, they probably would have done interviews on the site, but because they had the opportunity to do it their own and do their own thing, then that's what they
Yeah.
did.
I
So, anyways,
mean, it's also like one of those things where it's like people in general just don't want to write
yeah,
because it requires a lot of work. I hated writing, to be honest with you, because I had to, like, sometimes double check, triple check, and at one point I
sure,
just stopped proofreading my fucking shit. I just like wrote and just because it is very time consuming,
sure,
and for at least for most people. But it's also like one of those things where it's like you have to really think about what you say, because you realize it's not one of those things where it's in the moment, blah blah blah. It's something that's going to be lasting, you know, and you don't want to give an impression out. But eventually, I got to a point where it's like, I don't care. I'm
yeah.
just gonna say what I feel, even if it comes out like fucked up, even if I'm just distracted. But it's also like, yeah, like there are a lot of content creators out there, but there are also a lot of aspiring writers and content creators out there who I think would benefit from being with SoCal Uncensored, you know, build themselves up so they can move on and all that shit. But at the same time, I can't fucking stand content creators and all them fucking, you know, fucking clout chasers and shit, and not just like content creators, but clout chasers in general. Like,
Are you doing
I just wish there were
writing?
more people who did it for the love of the game instead of just trying to make themselves like figureheads, like Denise Salcedo and shit. Because
I, if you would have bet me $1 million, the name you were thinking, I knew that was the name. I
yeah,
100% knew that was the
because
name.
she's a perfect example of it. Because she was doing this shit in SoCal before she blew up, and now she's like on that state-controlled radio show
State
every
control
Saturday
radio,
on Sirius.
and don't forget
Because
she was
that's
after dark.
because that's you know what? I hate the Sunday shows with that Justin LeBar guy. He is such a fucking jackass. Like, he does not know shit about wrestling. And the fact that he gets paid to talk about it fucking bothers me so much.
Well,
Like, again, not so much because he's talking about wrestling and getting paid for it and I'm not, but that we live in a fucking time where people are struggling to make ends meet, and this fucking guy who's a WWE ball licker is getting paid to talk about his stupid opinions. Assuming they're actually his opinions and not some shit some WWE PR person told him to say.
well,
But I digress.
and I think it's bold of you to think that he's even getting paid.
He claims he's getting paid.
All right. Well, I mean, look, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone's pay stub, but like, I'll be honest. If Busted Open came to me and said, "Hey, we like your content. We want to put you on the air," the first question I would ask is how much, and if it was reasonable, I'm in.
I will say this, like I'm sure he gets paid, but I doubt he gets paid a lot because like there's been a lot of talent who have left SiriusXM over the
Yeah.
last few years. Like Dan Soder left the Bonfire, and he's a pretty like well-known name in comedy. Jim Norton left the Sam Roberts show, and he was basically a staple of that show going back to the Opie and Anthony days and shit. Like he was one of their main morning guys from the beginning and shit. And there's just like I use SiriusXM for the music at least. I listen to Faction Punk a lot, but it's also like you can tell like there's been a decline in all that shit. And like whenever I do listen to Busted Open, like I hear the ads and it's like fucking their sponsors are like forpatriots.com and shit, and like they're obviously not getting a lot of money from that shit. Like they probably like they probably spent most of their money on the fucking Metallica channel or some shit. And
Well, so again, I don't know how it all works, but I would imagine that the entire company Sirius sells blocks of advertising, and there's and then each channel gets like, okay, if you want premium placement like your MLB channel, that's the premium placement, and then on the lower tier channels, it's like, okay, the talk radio kind of comes into play. At
yeah.
least that's what I imagine. I don't know.
I
I
mean, like based on the ads I hear like on various stations on there, it's like I doubt like they're not getting, at least on the Wrestling Nation channel, they're not getting the big name sponsors. Like like I'll listen to like sports play by play, but that could be also local affiliates
Yeah.
advertising. But I hear like actual fucking companies sponsoring those programs, whereas the rest Busted Open is like, hey, get your emergency doomsday prep kit generators for all
Or
you patriots who are
don't forget
scared
about
of the end time.
don't forget about the Christian insurance company in case the insurance companies don't agree with your values.
Or their erectile dysfunction pill ads.
I
Cannot forget about those
I think
high
I
level,
getting those.
not the Blue Chews, but some other company, I think. But
Woo, with the Nature Boys. Hey, let's stop talking about Busted Open because they're not paying for this.
yeah, we're burying them.
Let's talk about some cool stuff. Now, it's been a few years now, but Epic Pro, your baby,
Mm.
it's going through some changes. Of course, you've had some opportunities and some struggles, and I feel like it's not a matter of putting on a good show. Whenever you guys run, the shows are always phenomenal. I don't think that's even up for debate. If you like wrestling, you would like an Epic Pro Wrestling show. But um, the we were talking a little bit off the air, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but you got ill after the last Epic Pro show, and that kind of tied up to Pandemonium. You guys were going to do a co-promoted show. You pulled out. Um,
Mm.
and there wasn't a lot of words about why you pulled out. Can you discuss why Epic's name came off that event?
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say it was just one thing. And like I'm glad like I'm getting this say this now because I've had, at least 4 weeks, to mentally unpack everything that went down. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like I kind of wanted it to happen that way. Not because of any issues I have with like Asan, the owner of Pandemonium, but there were several things that happened along the way that kind of made me feel like, am I really doing the right thing by being involved with this? Is this really going to benefit me? Like those thoughts came in the instant we decided on a date. So right off the bat, like let me say this: Asan, the owner of Pandemonium, great dude. I fucking that guy did a lot for me. Like you guys have no idea how much he did for me and Epic Pro. And at one point he was supposed to buy Epic Pro, and he was going to have Epic Pro and Pandemonium under one corporate banner. But that fell through, and that fell through right after WrestleMania week last year. A few weeks after, I should say, because he had a show during Mania week that year. Things didn't go well. I'm not going to put his business out there, but it ended up getting to a point where he had to call off the sale, right? And this was after we signed an agreement and all that. And this was after I had booked 2 shows with his approval because he was going to be financially responsible for them. And then I ended up having to be financially responsible for them. And I was financially irresponsible because as soon as I fucking signed the ownership change agreement with the Sun, I spent money I had fucking saved up like a fucking idiot. Didn't think this through. I put that on me, right? That's on me for fucking up. I should have like had some foresight and been like, maybe I should save some money in case this blah blah blah. So no, actually 3 shows, I should say. So we had 3 shows, and then like the July 3rd one was canceled, not because of his fault or anything, but like the vice mayor of Cudahy at the time, right? I'm actually skipping forward. We were going to do a free show in the city of Cudahy's Civic Center, which is like a library and like a city hall, and there's like a courtyard with the cement, ground and all that shit. And then there's a park, right? And they would have fireworks every year on July 3rd, and tons of people would come out and all that shit, and they would have wrestling. And we would have been like right on the front lines, right? When people would come in on the streets, they would see the wrestling ring first before they see anything else. And at that time, June 6th, there ended up being a fucking lot of massive raids in that area, and there was a lot of civil unrest. And during that time, the vice mayor of Cudahy, she went on social media and she was talking about how, oh, all these fucking gangbangers, they fucking go after people in their own neighborhoods trying to claim their turf. They go after each other and shit. Why aren't they clicking up and defending their turf and going after these guys invading their fucking hoods, right? Blah, blah, blah. And that caused a national controversy, dude. Like, really fucking bad. And it brought a lot of negative attention to the city of Cudahy. And whether you agree with her sentiment or not, it just like added a lot of like heat to the political fire at the time. And then like a week or 2 before the event, I got a fucking phone call from the guy I was working with at the city of Cudahy at the time on this project. And he told me, hey, there was a meeting and the city decided, we got to cancel the entire event. Wow. Because they're worried about, excuse me, if we do this, a possible raid happening and then like things getting really out of control.
Yeah.
Like, and to put this in perspective, like if something did happen, we're on the front lines. As I said, the ring would have been right there, right by the street. We would have had tons of fucking people around. And if something happened, if we went through that, it would have been like, we would have been the first ones to feel the fucking brunt of whatever would have happened.
Well, I think even more than that, like just from a PR scenario, like I think that would probably kill any momentum that Epic Pro had going forward because, even if you did nothing wrong, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time, I mean.
But I personally would have fucking not fucking been able to handle it well because me, I might be a shit talker, but I'm also a major empath. And like when I see something going on, like that's fucked up, I feel for the people going through it and shit. Because, I know what it's like to have gone through bullshit myself.
Yeah.
And we all decided, hey, let's just cancel that show. And I was like, okay, cool. I was glad we did. But like during that time, after Asan pulled out of the ownership agreement, and I had those 2 shows, of course, those raids were going on. And right when the raids were going on, I remember we sold tickets on June 5th for a show Squabble Up, which I think was on June 28th.
Yeah.
From June 6th to like June 16th or 17th, we didn't sell a single ticket. And we had tons of local advertising and shit. And I was talking to people in the area, and it was like the area I run in, and they were like, yeah, it's like a lot of these places are just like ghost towns lately. And people were scared to go out, and I noticed a lot of the people who weren't buying tickets were dominantly Latino, and the people who were buying tickets weren't Latino. And I was talking to other promoters, and I talked to three different promoters. One of them said they didn't notice anything with their show, but they also were going for a different type of audience and demographic that's different from the traditional wrestling demographic. Two other promoters, one of them runs out in Inland Empire area, the other in the San Gabriel Valley area. I'm not going to say who, but I guess people will figure it out. But they told me they noticed a downturn in ticket sales and mostly Latinos. So, and so that was going on. And I noticed there was another show that was taking place near me. They had low attendance and shit.
Yeah.
So that really fucking hurt as well. So that show was a financial disaster, and I had the anniversary show. I wanted to try and book more shows, but the venue was constantly booked. So I had those two shows happen. I fucking lost my ass, right?
Yeah.
And all of it was because the sale fell through. So during the fall, Asan, owner of Pandemonium, I'm repeating that over and over again, he hits me up. He says, "Hey, I feel bad about what happened. I want to make it up to you." And he said, like, he made several offers, and by the end of it, like, he offered to book Zoo6 on my January 31st show and to sponsor her match. And he wanted to do something at Don Quixote, and he decided to include me. And we talked about the show, and he agreed. Him and I agreed. 4 matches each. It's gonna be even, and we had certain business terms, right, that we agreed upon. And I'll just say this: I wasn't gonna make any fucking money on these shows. I was just doing it because I wanted to help guys get paid, put on a good show, do something good for the SoCal scene. And Asan wanted to do this thing with me, um, and we were down for it. So then, as I said, we talked about the date, and he wanted February 22nd. I thought that was way too close from when we were talking about doing the show, and way too close to my show, right? Ideally, if it was up to me, we would have done it March 29th. But he decided this is how he wanted to do it. And when we inquired with someone else, I'm not going to say who they are, because I don't know if anything's official with Pandemonium as far as like their position and all that. I will say they're not involved in the wrestling business. They're just, I guess they're going to be part of it. I don't know what's official, what isn't official. I'm not going to put anything out there, but they agreed with the song due February 22nd. And I was like, all right, I'm trying to be a good team player, right? I don't want to be overly demanding or narcissistic or any of that. I just wanted to make sure we put on a good show. So that happened, and as the show was going on, as it was progressing, like, there were certain things that I wasn't comfortable with, like, not comfortable with, but like just things I was noticing, right? And again, nothing to do with the song from Pandemonium, nothing to do with the ownership, but there was something happening that I felt weird about, right? As time went on, there were various little things, that I started to notice, especially in conversations with the people involved with the show. And, eventually, like, I had a lot of shit going on in my personal life. And I remember during the interview we did last time for the promotion of my last show, I told you this shit wasn't my top priority, because I had things going on in my life. And, my life is chaotic and all this shit. And, as time was going on, part of me honestly kind of didn't want to be doing this show anymore.
Right.
Because I was realizing, I'm going to put in a lot of work, and despite what some person will claim, I was going to put in a serious amount of money. And I'll tell you, Jay, privately, I'll message you right now and let you know exactly what that number was, so it wasn't bullshit. I was going to put a fair amount of money for something, and
Wow.
even if I had sponsorship, right,
Yeah.
it still wouldn't be enough to cover it, right? And I wasn't going to be making my money back on that. And, you know, certain conversations were happening, and like, I don't want to sound ungrateful for some of the people who were involved in this because they did a lot for me as well. But it was also like, I felt like this thing went from being a collaboration to just being what one person wanted, and them like sort of letting things get to their head, right? And I know I'm not the only person who noticed it, but things went along, and when we had the Z6 match at my last show, like, I thought things went well business wise, right? But then
Yeah.
after that, there were certain things, that came up that I didn't, that were just like, just felt like out of left field to me, because I felt like, certain things were being done on an unconditional basis. I didn't know, like, I was being asked to fucking agree to certain terms and whatnot. Like, a lot of it just came out of left field. And then there was frustration with certain things happening on the Pandemonium side. Again, not with Hassan, but read between the lines on that one. And it was just like one of those things where I felt like there was a lot less respect being shown toward me from a certain person there. And basically, like, like in the week after my show, I had to re-record my fucking production, re-record my commentary with Jordan Castle, because the fucking mixer we had didn't record the fucking commentary.
Oh,
Someone fucked up. Maybe it was me. I don't know. But I had to re-record commentary. I was dealing with a lot of family shit, and then like, Thursday after my show, I ended up like possibly getting COVID, I think.
yeah.
It definitely, yeah, it was COVID. I forgot. It was COVID. I had blood tests to check and see if it was something else. It wasn't, thankfully. I got COVID really bad, and I was fucking down, and I was doing everything I can to help with this show. And then there was a disagreement with someone, and I felt the way they went about it was bullshit, right? And I'm just going to keep it at that. And I didn't like the way I was being talked to, because this is supposed to be business. This is supposed to be a collaboration. In a collaboration, one person just doesn't fucking bitch out another person and then try and justify it by saying, "Oh, well, we're using this person's fucking money and you're not doing shit," even though that is bullshit. And Jay, I showed you, the number I was putting into this show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not nothing.
It's not bullshit. And I just felt like, you know what, dude, fuck this. So I ended up contacting Asan, and I told him, listen, man, either this disagreement gets handled and rectified and we do what we agreed to do. And I've already fucking like been passive this entire fucking process, letting your guy do whatever the fuck he wants to do with his side of the promotion. I
Yeah,
only one thing I asked for, was something that you guys would, agreed on, because, you know, they had similar fucking opinions on a person that I wasn't fond of and shit. And it's like I didn't really ask for much. Kept um I kept, my budget tight, because I was given a budget for the show for my portion of it, and I kept it tight, and I kept assuring, Asan, and I did everything I could to be a good fucking business partner, working with what little I had, you know, from what I could work with, and even when I asked for things to help, I sort of got a cold shoulder from somebody. I sort of got like a dismissive attitude, and then it's like, okay, like at some point I was just like, I want out. I'm not, this shit's not fucking fun for me, and then I had that conversation with the son after the disagreement, and I told him, look, man, either we do it like as we agreed, or I'm just not gonna fucking do this shit, and then he said, you know what, hey, I'm cool with it. If you want to pull out, pull out. So I was like, cool. So him and I mutually agreed, to part ways. And again, I really wish it hadn't been that way. I wish, um, Asan would have had, a little bit of my side on this and would have understood where I was coming from,
yeah,
especially since this whole thing Like my only involvement with this thing was because he wanted to make it up to me for the sale of the promotion falling through. And it was like, it sucks because I still care about that guy. I
Yeah,
still want him to succeed, but to put it bluntly, it's not going to fucking succeed with the fucking guy he's working with now. And like, somebody sent me a match from their show, from the show that I pulled out of, and it was one of the matches that I sort of criticized. Uh, like I will say this: when we had a conference call, I sort of criticized some of the matches because I didn't think they were going to be good. I didn't think they were going to be exciting, and I just didn't think there was any purpose for them to be on the show, right?
yeah,
But someone wanted to have their way because they overbooked their portion of the card, and I watched the match. It was boring. Crowd was dead for it for the most part, and the draw didn't look very good. And you know, there was a lot of things I kind of wish I spoke up about during the process, but I didn't. But it's also like a lot of my input wasn't being listened to
realized. Yeah,
from the beginning. And Jay, you know me, you and I have worked with each other. You know that if I feel like I'm not being like appreciated enough, or if I feel like my work isn't like being respected enough, and if I feel very strongly about it, I'll fight for it. And if it's not, I'll let shit go, right? For the most part. But this whole thing was just like there were times where it felt like I was a teenager arguing with a girlfriend, like who's trying to throw shit in my face, like you did this and you did that, you did this, you did that. After I point out one little negative thing, right? And a lot, and like not even in a malicious way, just in a way like, hey, you did this, and it's kind of fucked up, but you did this, you did that, you did that, and it just felt like that during
so
the whole.
did this sour you on working with promotions in the future? Like, do you think you'd still give an opportunity to work with another wrestling promotion, or
No,
you feel like you're kind of done with that?
fuck. You got me on the ropes right now, Jay. I don't know if I should say any names, but
Don't say,
yes, I
don't
am going to be working with another promoter very soon. In fact, yeah, skipping ahead, like
don't say anything that you're not comfortable saying because
I'm
we're live.
comfortable saying this. After the whole debacle went down, I was approached by another promoter, and they said, "Hey, how interested are you in doing something with me?" And I said, "I'm interested. How interested are you in doing something with me?" So
Would you like to form an alliance with me?
let's just say this person, they trust me.
All
They
right.
told me straight up,
Don't say any
and
names, but do I know them?
yes. And
Cool.
I think when people see what the promotion is, they're going to be excited. This person has trust in me, which I definitely wish I had from the beginning on this project with Pandemonium. But I think right now, like with this person, we're already off on all the right steps. I think by summer we're gonna have some interesting times, and I think hopefully if things go well, not only does this um, project, be successful, because I know we're gonna draw a better crowd than what we could have done with Pandemonium. And I'm not saying that to talk shit. I'm
No,
saying that
you even said you still wish the folks at Pandemonium well. You still
at
wish
least
on
Hassan.
success.
I
Yeah.
just wish Hassan and maybe the other person. I don't know if they're with them, but there's just one person there who I think can just go fuck themselves.
Well, sure. Well,
But
and that's the thing though too. And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but like if that's if that guy's there, and Hassan owns the company, then that means he's there because Hassan wants him there.
it's
So
true. But at the same time, it's like I think eventually Hassan will realize certain things. I mean, I'm not going to say much because it's business, and I'm not
sure.
going to put their business out there. But from what he told me, it was like, I don't think it's going to work. And anytime he would tell me something, I would think it's not going to work. Never ended up working. I hope
Well,
he proves me wrong for Hassan's sake. The other guy can go fuck himself, but I really wish Hassan well. I wish Pandemonium could be something, and I wish it would be something here in SoCal. But when you're working with somebody who doesn't know shit about the SoCal scene, probably better off not being around.
Well, and that's the thing too, market research, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't know your market, then maybe do the research beforehand.
That was one of the frustrating things about that whole show process, because when the person was talking about how what they wanted to do with the show, it was like, I don't think this is going to draw. Like, oh, it's going to draw. It's going to draw. Blah, it's going to draw. And well, look what happened.
Okay. For example, I'm a huge NWA fan, and then the people watching this know that I will talk NWA all day, every day.
Wild side.
And a guy like Mike Mondo used to be in the WWE. I think he can get over in a lot of markets, but I don't know where he'd fit in Southern California.
I had this conversation with another promoter. I'll say it. I was having a conversation with one of the guys from Winner Circle Pro, and we were talking about, actually, I more than just them, a lot of other promoters, but they were just the most recent. They asked me about, like, what do I think about who draws well, blah blah blah, and like, the reality is in SoCal, like, unless you're bringing in big name lucha names, excuse me, big name lucha stars. I think that's my first burp of this podcast.
Second.
Oh, sweet.
Keeping track.
Nice. I'm not burping as much, but no. Getting back on track, like, outside of like a well-known AEW or TNA, or maybe even a WWE name who's on loan from the Fed, or like some major fucking indie name like Shotzi Blackheart, like, and even then, I think, hi Frank. Even then, it's like, I don't think like there's a lot of draws out here, and like, I think the biggest thing is just like getting the word out there and like letting people know, hey, there's wrestling, and if they see it's an affordable, it's affordable to get in, and that, like, if they scan a QR code and there's a video that shows them what they'll see and they like it, I think that can draw just as much as, like, somebody bringing in like a fucking big name from, like, headlines GCW all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say GCW. I mean, they bring in Nick Nemeth. They brought in Matt Cardona, who was a free agent. They brought in Zack Sabre freaking Jr. They're bringing Ray Horas, and I'm like, you take a, and I'm not saying that these guys aren't special and unique, but I feel like you kind of Hammerstone. I've seen them now. I've seen them a lot, so it's not like they feel as special when they show up somewhere else, because I saw them in GCW and I continue to see them in GCW. So, like, Richard Holiday was out here for Dave's Sunday Night Heat, or Sunday Night Slam, excuse me, and I thought it was a good, like, he had a great match. It was fun, but like, it doesn't feel as special because I see Richard Holiday everywhere.
I think another thing is, like, I think a lot of promoters just rely on social media to try and, like, get over, which is like, I'm not going to say much about that show anyway. I'm done talking about it. But which is like a problem. Like, and unless you're putting money into your ads, like if you're running Facebook and Instagram ads, yeah, you're going to get it. Like at least in my experience, you're going to get ticket sales from that. But if you're just posting on your own fucking social media feeds, like, even if your wrestlers are tagging or accepting collabs and sharing them, it's not going to fucking move much, especially if you're running in SoCal and you're booking a show full of people from, like, fucking, like, NorCal, the Pacific Northwest, the Southwest, Texas. Like, you're booking all these people who aren't from here, who your local audience isn't familiar with, and who aren't really big names themselves on the indie scene. Like SoCal's an island. Like, people will know about the bigger promotions like GCW and MLW. But when it comes to that, there's kind of like a disconnect from a lot of other indies between the SoCal audience and, like, the bigger ones, unless it's like Prestige coming in or West Coast. But even then, those guys have to bring in big names in order to get attention. And like, honestly, like, the last West Coast show was the same night as a Dream Slam show, and, like, I don't know all the numbers, but from the looks of it, and based on, like, my years in the business and crowd estimates and all that shit, it looked like Dream Slam outdrew West Coast. At least from what I saw on video. I don't know if it's true, but they had a really good crowd, and it was mostly locals. I think the only fucking big name they had was that fucking dipshit pizza guy, um, who made that stupid fucking ice post that wasn't funny. And
He made an ice post.
oh, dude, it was so fucked up. I'll look for it right now and send it to you. But anyway, like, I think that show might have outdrawn West Coast, right? And West Coast had like Billy Starks, they had Stephen Wolf, they had this guy LeBron. I don't know his last name, but he's a guy who's very well known in um, Deadlock Pro, right? I think he was like the last champion. That guy. Again, I don't fucking know. I don't know a lot of these guys. I'm sorry. I found the tweet. I'll send it to you. It got deleted as well. I should know before I send it to you. But they had a lot of big names on that show, and it didn't draw as well. And I think that's a big lesson that a lot of people need to realize. Like, just because there's internet hype behind a promotion outside of SoCal doesn't mean they're going to do well in SoCal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you saw the Luigi Primo tweet, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck him. Yeah.
It's like people can't get out of their own way, like, just shut up, dude. Just stop trying to be funny. Just wrestle.
If you're going to be funny, don't do it at the expense of a serious fucking issue that's going on right now.
That's entirely insane to me.
Yeah. But yeah, and you know what? Here's another thing. People in SoCal didn't know that. A lot of them don't seem to know about like Masha Slamovich's fucking domestic abuse issues. And she's on shows out here. Luigi Primo's on shows out here with like no fucking repercussions or anything for anyone. Fucking Max Landis supposedly still goes to shows out here. Like, what the fuck? Jesse Hernandez is a protector of pedophiles and blaming young girls for them getting fucking groped by fans.
I feel like there should be some sensitivity training all across the board, because you're like, look, I get it. In the old days, things went a certain way, but that was the old days, and you can't be a business in 2026 doing things the way they did in the 1980s, 1990s, even early 2000s. I mean, fuck, that was 26 years ago, early 2000s, 26 years ago. Things have had to change, and you have to evolve with the times.
Yeah.
And Jesse Hernandez, by not coming out and protecting the camera operator, and by not distancing himself from the pedophile, did more to hurt his name and legacy than anything else that's ever happened. And and I'm not saying he's had a sparkling clean background, but like he is a living legend in the area, and he's only tarnishing his own image with every single post that he makes. And the shit that he said to Eli Everfly, like, someone should go, hey Jesse, what the fuck are you doing? You're literally shitting the bed right now, because
he's an 80-year-old man saying this shit, and it's like, fuck, dude. Imagine it, like if that was someone like my age, like chances are there would be a fight. Like,
yeah,
there would be a fight, but because he's older and like because he's had longevity and because I guess people call him a legend, which I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna try to discredit what he's done for the scene, but it's like people hold him in such high regard and all this shit. But it's also like, I don't think that fucking excuses you from being a total fucking scumbag.
I want to like him because of the history, right? Like, I want to like him because of the legacy and everything else. I'm big on legacy. I mean, that's part of the reason why I talk about the NWA every fucking week. But when you tarnish your own image, and it's him doing it, he's literally doing it himself. It's not someone threw him under the bus. He spoke it. He spoke to the problem. He outed himself, and it's like,
he victim blamed a victim directly, and even told her it was her fault that she was a liability when she was underage. It's like, no, dude.
That's not
Like
how
that's
he
not
would.
how.
If that was his daughter, I'm sure that's not how he would have responded.
That's basically like saying, "Oh, what were you wearing to a rape victim?" Right? Like that's like the same level of bullshit to me. And there's other people out here who have tried to protect fucking scumbags and abusers. And one one person I completely cut ties with when I found out what really happened because I was gaslit into thinking something that wasn't true, and they hold a resentment towards me, I guess. Whatever, dude, I'm fine with that. But it's also like I'd rather have like people resent me for at least trying to do the right thing instead
Yeah,
of people like liking me because I'm looking the other way on them trying to bring back a sex pest, into wrestling. Like I'm just like, and I'll say this, like, along with Jesse Hernandez saying that shit about like Eli and that one woman who was assaulted when she was a young girl, like during the pandemic, he had a sponsor for eviction lawyers who were paying him to advertise and shit. And it's like people were losing their homes, and he's advertising shit services for landlords to kick people out of their homes. And he's in the San Bernardino area, which is like one of the like Jay, you know the area.
yeah,
You live there in that area or close to it. It's very impoverished for the
yeah,
most part. There's a lot of poverty in that area. And he was doing that when poverty was pretty much at its worst. And people were losing their fucking jobs. He didn't seem to care. He just wanted the money, it seemed. And it's like, and then that was right around the time of the Mickey Moreno shit. And it's just like, and when like if you've been around long enough, like you and I have, a lot about Jesse's fucking past.
yeah,
About like the fucking stuff with fucking him and Bill Anderson when they had their split. And like there was a mass exodus of EWF guys to IWC or UPW,
yeah,
Havana Pitbulls, TJ Perkins, Frankie Kazarian, all them guys and shit. And like there was always a lot of negativity around EWF. And I guess we're circling back to SoCal Uncensored a little bit. Like there was that guy, EWF Jeff, who would always go on the fucking boards and talk shit to people who were like criticizing EWF. And there was just a very fucking hostile attitude
yeah.
coming from EWF. So it's like none of this shit with Jesse surprises me. Like everyone's like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, I always knew he would support rapists and all that shit." But also, like, we all sort of knew he kind of had that carny side, right?
Sure.
But
Well, and I think again, where the business was 30 years ago, it was
yeah,
more carny than it is today, and it has to evolve. It
I mean,
everything's
there's
had
just a
to
different type of carny these days. But
evolve. Sure.
carnies these days are like liars. Well, they're more liars and cheats, whereas back then they were more like abusers and people would take advantage of others and shit. And you know, it is what it is, man. But like with Jesse, it's like I don't think it's a fall from grace. I think it's just like, yeah, that's who he's always been, and that's the reality we should accept, and we shouldn't just hold someone in high regard just because they did a lot for wrestling,
Yeah.
whatever.
No. And like, look, you and I both, once we found out who Joey Ryan was, I think we both distanced ourselves from him as well because again, that's not the kind of people we are,
I
and
mean,
we didn't. You and I both feel like that's not okay. And
he
there's some
got
people
me
who
into the business technically,
and there's some
so
and there's some people who don't have a problem with what he did, and
yeah,
that's not the kind of people I want to associate with. But that just goes to show you can't just hold somebody in high regard just because they did something for you
yeah,
or because they were something in the business. And anyway, we've been talking for a good hour, and I don't want to rush you off, but
yeah.
I am running out of time here, and I know we had some more things to talk about. So first, we know that Epic Pro has been on a bit of a hiatus. When can we expect Epic Pro back? Like, do you have a date, or are you working towards a date of when you'll be back?
I have a target date for summer, like not including this project I'm doing with another promoter, but it's just a matter of talking to some venues. I haven't really said much publicly about this either, but I decided, I think it's time to move on from the Bill Green Sports Complex in Cudahy, as much as I like the venue, um, there are certain things that come up um, when it comes to like running there that I feel like will make it harder for us to run there. And not only that, it's constantly getting booked. Like I'm going to say this: I was trying to get some shows for March and April booked and June, but a lot of them kept getting booked up, and then things have changed over at the city of Cudahy, and as far as like the process, and there's numerous other factors. I think the biggest one is the parking.
Yeah.
Like we're not allowed to have our own private parking anymore in that little area we used to go in, so that causes a lot of problems for me, and for all the fans. And I kind of hate that, and I don't want to be dealing with that. So I'm looking into places where there's either ample amount of parking, um, or at least enough street parking, right? Enough, or a place where it's close to like a good mass transit, area,
Yeah.
or somewhere where people can just get there easily. Another thing is people get talking about like food selection and beverages and all that. Like I'll say this, I mean, getting a liquor license is too much, but like I would like to be able to like give fans that better experience, have more variety for food and beverages and all that.
Sure.
Um, but it's also a matter of just finding the right partners when it comes to a venue who can accommodate all that.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I'm trying to do is like find a place that I can work closely with, so that we can have a certain like you know a certain process to help like make booking shows so much easier and all that. And I'll say this: it's hard trying to find a venue here in SoCal, and like a lot of these fucking places are charging almost as much as a talent budget, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot for me at least. And I'm talking about like my talent budgets are in the thousands, not hundreds like most of these fucking broadcast promoters. But I'm, I pay people and shit, and the biggest thing also is I want stability. I think the biggest problem with Epic Pro is not being able to be consistent, and a lot of it has to do with well, in 2024 I was having a lot of health problems and shit, but just being able to get my venue and all that, and also like being able to run steadily enough to where I can be somewhere and not have unexpected charges or expenses come up, and
Yeah.
nothing where I have to worry about like needing to do stuff on the ground and driving an hour out of my way to fucking be there. Like, there's just a lot of stuff, but mainly I want a better fan experience too. So, and I want to run in a different area. It's closer to me. So, because I hate freeways, I don't like taking freeways, man.
Sure.
So, there's that. But hopefully, in the summer, Epic Pro will be back on a consistent basis, because that's what I really want to do. I tried to do that this year, but things
Well,
happen.
everything's a learning process, and you're a business owner now, and you have been for a few years, and you understand that you either win or you learn. There's no such thing as losing, because everything's an experience. You learn from
Only
it.
losing money.
Well, and even that's an investment in yourself, because if nothing ventured, nothing gained. Look, man, I've lost a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money, but it is what it is, and this is what as a business owner, you gotta bet on yourself, and
Mm.
it's one of those things where like you have this very cool opportunity to do some cool shit, but it costs money, and there are risks involved. But if you don't make $1 million doing it, you still have that experience, and now you have the knowledge for the next time.
It's funny. Like some people will try and like talk shit about some promotions, like, "Oh, you lose money all the time. You lost money all the time." Like, listen, ain't no fucking promoter outside of like maybe GCW that is turning profits. And the only way a lot of these, if like any promotion is turning a profit, they're probably not paying their talent well. That's pretty much where I fucking stand. And seeing some of these fucking promotions out here, at least, like I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were turning profits, because they're charging really high ticket prices, and they're like delivering a low quality product with guys who cost like $50 to book. So I mean, it is what it is. But when you want to fucking do something that that requires like a challenge, it requires you to like put on a quality show, then it's going to cost money. And PWG didn't make money for years. It took them a while before they were able to be sustainable. So yeah.
Are you still uploading content to your YouTube channel? The old episodes of the old matches that you filmed for Triller, are those making their way to YouTube?
I'm posting some matches. I want to post more like shorts because I realize shorts get a lot of views for some fucking reason. So it's just a matter of having to find a time for
Sure.
that. And because like I'll say this, like, and I guess this is like an indirect response to someone who said something to me a while back regarding certain things. It's like, hey man, my I got a lot of shit I gotta do. I have a lot of shit going on in my life. I'm not some guy who just fucking, spends his time fucking going on Twitter all day trying to get into arguments with people because they have nothing better with their life.
Sure.
I have to deal with shit my mom's going through. I have to deal with shit that close family friends are going through, relatives are going through, I'm going through, you know, trying to fucking survive in this world. So it's like, excuse me if I don't have the time to fucking dedicate to something that I'm not getting paid on. But I hope to have more time to dedicate for like Epic Pro clips on YouTube. That's like, I think the biggest thing I really want to do. Just not because I want to monetize it. Like, I know people say, you can make more money on YouTube shorts, but just because I want to be able to have content out there on a consistent basis and people seeing our shit and being like, oh man, that's cool as fuck.
I
I want to go see that.
Shorts are great for getting people to your channel,
Yeah.
but they're not great for making money.
I mean, I read an article, and I'll try and find it and send it to you later, but supposedly shorts make more money than long form videos now, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't care about monetization of YouTube, at least not yet, but
We'll have that discussion offline because I have some tips.
yeah. Yeah.
I've been doing it for a while, so I kind of know a little bit, but
Listen, you're someone I would trust to guide me on this, and I would not just be like telling you, "Fuck you, you don't know what you're doing," and I'm gonna do it my way. It's like,
well, and that's the thing, right? So if I give
yeah,
you some advice, if I say, hey, let me help you with this, and I give you advice, and
yeah,
you choose not to listen, that's no skin off my back.
yeah,
I did what I like, and this is like my philosophy for life, right?
yeah,
I'm trying to help you because I feel like you deserve my help.
yeah,
And if it benefits you, great. And if you say, you know what, this doesn't work out for me, that's cool too, man. I did my job by trying to help.
yeah,
And I feel like that about everything in life, right? My kids, man, they don't fucking listen to me, but
yeah,
I do what I can to give them the advice. And when they're old enough to make their own decisions, they're gonna make them, and they're gonna win, they're gonna learn. But that's all I'm here
yeah.
for, is to help facilitate that.
It's like, yeah, the exact. I have the exact same mindset because you can tell someone, hey, you did something that's not going to be beneficial to you or what you're doing, and they say, yeah, well, you did the same thing. Well, yeah, I did do the same thing, and that's why I'm telling you, don't fucking do it because I already made that fucking mistake, and I'm trying to tell you not to make that mistake. But go ahead, don't listen to me. Just
I
fail
tell
on your own.
I tell my kids, like, look, don't make the same mistakes I did. Make
Yeah,
your new mistakes, making different mistakes. Just don't do the same ones I did.
yeah. Like if you're gonna jump off something really high, don't try and land on one leg because it'll fucking break. You know.
And you can speak from experience on that.
I know I can't. I just know. I just say that because I listen to, like, anyone who's listened to a Laker game and listened to Stu Lance, they'll know that phrase exactly because he's said it all the time.
We're running out of time here. We got just a few more minutes left. Please plug your socials. I will put them in the video description so people can find the links to Epic Pro everywhere on the internet. But
Epic Pro LA on everything right now. I used to do TikTok and Blue Sky, but then yeah, I'm not gonna
not
go
Blue
there.
Sky either.
They have compromised ownership and they censor certain people's political viewpoints, which
Oh,
is crazy because you know you would think Twitter would be more would be harder on certain things, but they aren't as harsh on certain political viewpoints as Blue Sky is, which was supposed to be the haven, which
at this point, man, it's just try something out. Try whatever's new is try whatever's new.
I want to build my own YouTube.
Well, they did it with Rumble, so why not, man? We'll do a left-leaning Rumble.
How about no political leaning Rumble? Let's just have fun again. Like, listen, I have political beliefs and all that, but there's got to be something for us who just want to escape all that shit for like 5-10 minutes at a time.
Good luck with that.
Oh man. Oh, hopefully no false flags happen here in California anytime soon.
All right, and with that, we're gonna bid you adieu. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. And of course, when the next Epic Pro event does come up, we'll be posting about it at thealliance-wrestling.com.
Shout out Rival Pro running Saturday in Baldwin Park. Shout out Winter Circle running in Chino next month. Shout out Islos Lucha. Shout out Santino Bros running Friday in Azusa. Also, shout out Kitsune.
What about our buddy Lil Cholo, House of Lucha?
Shout out Lil Cholo. I just wish he had a better place to run than that fucking piece of shit's fucking gym.
He's coming on my show next week.
John Della O?
Lil Cholo.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant John Della O. No, I love Cholo, man. Tell Cholo I said what's up.
Hybrid Pro, just real quick, said you should join Clapper. I don't think you're
What's Clapper?
I don't think you have the assets for Clapper.
Oh, is it one of those things?
I don't know if it's one of those things, but like that's what I heard.
Oh man, well, I don't.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.